Sick of people at ESPN or Sports Center who think they have their heads on their shoulders but really don't? Well, it's time for the Jimmy and the K Sports Show. We're going to give you the most urgent sports news. So sit down, buckle up, and get ready for the #1 sports show on the web. Here we go, my sports friends. How y'all doing this Tuesday evening here at the Jimmy the K Sports Show? You see me here each and every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time here on Ustream and also now on Facebook Live as well. I hope you're all having a wonderful and blessed week so far. I'd like to send our thoughts and prayers down to those in the Oklahoma towns out there that got devastated with a few tornadoes. So we want to send our thoughts and prayers out to them. And hopefully y'all can rebuild and move on from there. But again, our thoughts and prayers are with you guys. Oklahoma strong, right? Not a whole lot going on in the sports world. So what I'm going to ask for you to do is, if you're watching this live, just shoot some questions at me. You know, this is where you too can be part of this show. Is this something that you want to be a part of, or, you know, is it just something that you just pop in every once in a while? But this is the way right here, Facebook Live and through Ustream. Although, I mean, the truth of the matter is, I love Ustream. Do not get me wrong, but I'm starting to like this Facebook Live because at any point during the day or evening, you know, I can go live with this. So, again, if you're watching us live here on Facebook Live, even if I'm in the middle of a topic, just start shooting questions at me. I'll be more than willing to answer them. So let's go ahead and get to our sports news. Not a whole lot, again, like I said, going on in the sports world. I do know that the Dallas Stars tied up this series at 3 games apiece. So there will be a deciding Game 7 against the St. Louis Blues. Biggest concern that I have, you know, I can't say that I keep up with hockey too much, so I'm not going to talk a whole lot on it. But the biggest thing that I've seen so far from watching the 2 or 3 Star games that I've been able to watch against the St. Louis Blues is the big thing with the Dallas Stars is they have the problem of getting up to a big lead, let's say 3 or 4 to nothing, and then, you know, that third period comes around, and from that third period, you know, St. Louis scores a goal or 2 or 3 sometimes to tie the game, and then St. Louis ends up winning the game. So that's the biggest concern that I have about the Dallas Stars is the fact that, you know, they can get ahead early on, but they give up leads late in the game and possibly losses as well. I also know that Game 6 tonight, the Washington Capitals against the Pittsburgh Penguins, I believe, is who they are playing. Game 6 tonight. So if Washington ties this up, it'll be deciding Game 7 will be played in the Washington, D.C. area. So good luck to them as well. The Oklahoma City Thunder play tonight. The Oklahoma City Thunder tied this series a couple of nights ago, and the Thunder are playing tonight. So it's tied at 2 games apiece. Good luck to the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Cleveland Cavaliers moved on 4 games to none. They're waiting on the winner over there on the Eastern Conference to get done. So we'll be keeping an eye on the Oklahoma City Thunder here and there. Baseball news. PEDs. Additional PEDs suspensions expected. This is definitely not something that you want to hear. You know, this happens a lot in Major League Sports. We know that. Is it something we want to hear about? No. Especially when you hear that these suspensions are not for big name players, but rather smaller name players and players in the minor leagues looking to move up. That is an area of concern for me, as that shows me as a baseball fan that PEDs are are still out there, and they're alive and well for the even the young sports fan, or the young sports player. You know, several players are expected to receive 80 game suspensions with these, um, with positive tests. Um, the identities are yet to be known. I do know one player was suspended today. Let me see. Check that for you here real quick before I spout off my mouth and say something wrong. Uh, the truth of the matter is a lot of this has to do with cutting edge performance enhancement drugs now. Um, Turin, Turinabol apparently back when could only be detected within about a week of its use. Traces can now be found in much larger windows. Several players were caught during spring training when testing would be anticipated, and they were caught. Most recent suspensions were the likes of D. Gordon and Chris Colabello. So, you know what my issue is with cheating in sports. We already know. To sit here and continue to say this goes on to the fact that I have to spend even the amount of time that I do on a sports show, rather not discussing sports per se. Granted, it is a sports topic, do not get me wrong, but I have to discuss the fact that these kids, and they are kids, the reports are from MLB trade rumors and other MLB outlets that these PED suspensions are not big time players. They're not your Bryce Harpers. They're not your Giancarlo Stantons. They're not your Prince Fielders. They're not your Rougned Odors. They're not your Elvis Andrus. Uh, who they are is your lower tier player, your smaller tier players like, again, D. Gordon and Chris Colabello, whom want to get ahead of the curve. And to get ahead of the curve, a lot of times, you've got to do these performance enhancing drugs. We know for a fact that Major League Baseball has a problem with PEDs. We haven't heard a lot about the NFL. We haven't heard a lot about the NBA. And we sure the heck have not heard a lot about the NHL. Does that mean that these drugs are void in those sports? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And to say that they are would be absurd on my part as a sports host. And for y'all to even believe that would be absurd, because the truth of the matter is we know uh, steroids and PEDs are taken in football, they're taken in hockey, they're taken in soccer, they're taken in basically any professional sport. The problem is a lot of these sports aren't doing anything about it. Major League Baseball is sending a message now by saying, hey, I don't care if you're young or not, 50, 60, 70, 80 game suspension on the first offense, and then a year ban on the second offense, and then 3 strikes, and guess what? You're out. This what needs to be done. We need to see this in the NFL. We need to see this in NHL. We need to see this in your NASCAR sports. We need to see this in your NBA as well. Every sport has them, but baseball is taking the additional steps right now to tell the players that, hey, if you're going to do this and get caught, then you're going to pay the consequences. And to pay the consequences is going to be a 60, 80 game suspension for your first offense, a year offense for your second offense, and for your third offense, you're going to get suspended from the league, period. So Major League Baseball is sending a message. I'm proud of Major League Baseball. Granted, it's absurd and annoying to know that a lot of these young kids are the ones right now that are being suspended. But you would expect that. These young kids want to be your next Prince Fielder, your next Giancarlo Stanton, your next Bryce Harper, your next Chris Bryant of the Chicago Cubs. However, to do that, they realize that what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to do these PEDs. And they're going to have to go ahead of the curve. They're going to have to jump the curve, and they're going to have to jump the fence, and they're just going to have to do it. So we're getting lots and lots of young players doing this. Is this a problem? Period. This is a problem, period. This is a problem starting off in high school. And, again, this is something that I do not take lightly to. As a fan of the sport, as a fan of any sport, whether it be baseball, basketball, football, NASCAR, anything of that sort, anything of the sort of sports-wise, I'm not a fan of. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it right. One of my biggest all-time favorite players for the Texas Rangers, believe it or not, was somebody that's working in their front office right now by the name of Michael Young. Michael Young, to my knowledge, although reports were when A-Rod got caught many, many years ago, that Michael Young was the one injecting him in the buttocks. I don't buy it. Michael Young has vehemently denied that. And, for a player like Michael Young to continually deny it is saying something. But Michael Young did things, in my opinion, and from what I can tell, the right way. Cal Ripken Jr., he did things the right way. Look at Adrian Beltre of the Texas Rangers. You can see he's doing things the right way. At least to our knowledge, he is. We've yet to see him get caught for PEDs. We've yet to see your Michael Youngs get caught. I've yet to see your Jose Altuve's get caught. Your Chris Bryant's get caught. But again, we're watching younger and younger players want to beef up on these PEDs, and this is the problem. This is the problem. These kids think that all it is a pill or a powdered drink that you can drink 1 or 2 times during the day. You can do a little bit of running here and there with your athletics, your coaches, with your sports team, whether it be your baseball team, your football team in high school, and beef up. The truth of the matter is there's a lot more to this than just, drinking a protein drink or taking an antihistamine. There is lots more to this, lots more that meets the eyes. So again, as I've mentioned, this is something that I'm not a fan of. I never have been a fan of, nor will I ever be a fan of. If you're going to do something, do it right. Do it right the first time. Don't try to cut corners. Don't try to cut corners to better your playing field, but instead do things the right way, and the right way being the way of hard work and diligence through not only your school, but through your coaches and through other teammates, unless those other teammates are the ones trying to provide you, or coaches as well. because we do know coaches will provide these sometimes. Do it the right way. That's all I have to say. Let's not cut corners. Let's do this right the first time. Let's start off from the little leagues and move on up. And if you've got it, you've got it. If you don't, you don't. You don't have to take PEDs just to prove that you're gonna get it. So that's that. Enough said there. I want to give props off this. In some ways, I want to give props. In other ways, I don't. This is actually a pretty big deal. Monica Abbott, who is a professional softball player, becomes the first professional softball player to sign a $1 million deal with an expansion team. Pretty cool. I'm not a big fan of big contracts. I do understand that she is changing the scene for young players, younger players to be able to come into professional softball as well. So on that note, I enjoy the fact that she signed the landmark deal, but what I'm hoping doesn't happen is, this happens with a lot of times. I'm not saying it happens all the time, and some are good and some are bad. You get these athletes that are good, and you got some that are bad. However, a lot of times when you sign these lucrative deals, you'll end up doing lucrative things. I really don't think this Monica Abbott's going to do that. However, sometimes you can end up going off the wrong side, turning down the wrong side of the road and ending up off the bridge. So I want to tip my hats off to Monica Abbott. Do not get me wrong. It's a landmark deal. However, I'm hoping it's a deal that she'll savor and won't do anything negatively with professionally to deter the name of the expansion softball team. Many of you know how I'm not a big fan of ESPN. Granted, I get very little of my sports news from ESPN. I get a lot of, especially a lot of my baseball news from a website called MLBTradeRumors.com. You got NFL TradeRumors.com. You've got NHL Trade Rumors coming up.com. So a lot of my information is got through those sources. However, I did find this pop up on my Facebook feed, and this one about shocked me. ESPN is causing a shakeup in their team. Ray Lewis and Chris Carter are out, and Randy Moss is on his way in. I'm very confident in what Randy Moss can do over at ESPN. I don't see, from what I could see through his time at CBS and through other interviews, he doesn't have the same bias that Chris Carter and Ray Lewis would have at times. Stephen A. Smith would have at times as well. However, I do see Randy Moss being able to steer ESPN in the right direction, keeping it on a sports avenue and less on a political avenue. On that same note, reportedly, while we're at it, Curt Schilling reportedly during an interview with a radio station reported that an email went out. An email went out several months ago from ESPN executives saying that they wanted to keep everything non-political. They wanted to keep it to sports and sports only. So, after he made his little Muslim spout, ESPN sent out that email. And from there, he kept it on sports. But he would notice the likes of Stephen A. Smith, the likes of Chris Carter, and other individuals there at ESPN getting a little bit too political. So he got a little political once, and we all saw what happened. He got fired. However, this news of Ray Lewis and Chris Carter out at ESPN is not that of them being fired per se, but it very well could be along those lines. Reports have not come out yet as to why they're leaving and why Randy Moss is coming in. I can tell you my 2 cents, and my 2 cents is that Randy Moss keeps it strictly sports and on the sports avenue, whereas Ray Lewis and Chris Carter every once in a while would go off the rails. So it's going to be a good deal for ESPN. So congratulations to Randy Moss. Best of luck to Ray Lewis and Chris Carter in their next endeavors. And good luck to everyone there at ESPN. Hopefully they can keep it sports per se and not political. Speculation is that Stephen Curry could very well be ready for the next series. So if Stephen Curry is ready for the next series, my question to you as sports fans is, can San Antonio or Oklahoma City, depending on who wins this series, right now through the first 4 games, I'd be lying to say that the Thunder are going to move on. Because all indications look like San Antonio's got the full momentum to basically go the distance. My question to you as sports fans watching is, do you think a team like San Antonio or the Oklahoma City Thunder can beat a team like Golden State? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think Oklahoma City or San Antonio can beat Golden State? If you go by regular season records would indicate that San Antonio would have the better shot at winning the series against Golden State, whereas the Oklahoma City Thunder would have a lesser shot, as the Oklahoma City Thunder at times had very difficult issues with Golden State. San Antonio, a couple of games, had their best games yet with the Oklahoma City Thunder, or with the against the Golden State Warriors. With that being said, that's this week's sports news here on the Jimmy the K Sports Show. I thank you for stopping by, not only here at Ustream, but at Facebook Live as well. Remember that we are live not only on Ustream, but Facebook Live on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So be sure to stop by. Remember, there's simple ways that you can get a hold of us. If you're watching this through my personal website or through the All About Sports Zone Facebook page, shoot a message with your questions, your sports questions, comments, concerns, show comments, questions, or concerns. If you're viewing this and would like to shoot an email, email us at allaboutsportszone@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at JimmyKersey1. Or you can also follow us on the All About Sports Zone YouTube site. That's something that I have failed to mention. Just go to your search engine on YouTube, All About Sports Zone, or the Jimmy the K Sports Show. It's probably better if you go with the Jimmy the K Sports Show. Go from there and subscribe to that as well. Greatly appreciate that. And those are the ways that you can get a hold of us. I thank you for watching. Be sure to tune in each and every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time here on Ustream and Facebook Live. Be sure to shoot your questions as well. I do live question answering, especially through Facebook Live. And one last thing I want to shoot with y'all is I've personally emailed. I don't know if you're familiar with the TV program called Shark Tank. Shark Tank had a duo last week, two young kids. I believe the company. I don't believe I remember the name of the company just yet. Something Innovations. But the two young kids, very bright young kids, entrepreneurs. I've emailed them personally, and I'm looking to do a sponsorship with them. They're two very bright young kids, and I would definitely like to do a sponsorship with them. So I've sent them an email. So look forward to hopefully hearing back from them and getting a sponsorship through their company. They sponsor us, we sponsor them. Be great for all of us involved. Again, I thank you for watching. Until next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time, I'm Jimmy the K. See you next Tuesday, Facebook Live and Ustream. Peace out.